Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. I'm going to be taking you through the kind of anatomy of type. I found this wallpaper today, basically explaining the anatomy of typography, and it's a really nice summary, especially for beginners, showing where all the kind of parts of type are. And you'll hear these phrases used in video tutorials, so this is a really good start if you're new to the game. If not, it's a good refresher. I often forget what these are called from time to time. But yeah, so I'm going to start with a few things that aren't on here first. I'm going to start with the different types of characters that you get. You've obviously got your standard characters. You've got your numbers from 0 right through to 9. You've also got your letters from A to Z, but you've also got special characters. The special characters include things like math signs, punctuation, accented characters, so characters with accents on the top, and also reference marks, things like the copyright symbol, the trademark symbol. And these are your kind of common special characters that you'll see from time and time again. Less common are ligatures. These are basically pairs of letters that look different when they're next to each other. So in this case, F and F looks like this is a ligature instead of what it normally looks like there if they were right next to each other. F and I is another ligature pair. That's how it would normally look. And here are a couple of others. This is F and L. This is F, F, and L. And you normally don't recognize these straight off, but they really do make a big difference. I mean, they look nicer than the kind of the standard option there. Moving on, I think the next important thing is the kind of three different types of fonts. So the kind of three schools of font, as it were. So you've got your serif fonts. Serif fonts are basically fonts that have a tapered end, or have kind of this, and then you can tell the difference basically. So this is a serif font. It's got this ending here on the S. You've also got the T there. It's kind of an ending, and they all have this very kind of bold, kind of strong strokes within them, as you can see here in the N, the E, right throughout the font. Sans serif is effectively the same kind of thing, but without kind of the endings, tapered endings. So you've got Verdana, which doesn't have any sort of ending, and as you can see the difference. Now, the other form, or the type of font, sorry, is a free-form font, and these basically look like this. Again, they don't really have, any sort of particular kind of, they don't stick to any sort of rules as such, but they still look nice, they still do the job, and they're freeform. They basically do whatever they want to do. Right, so those are the different kind of types of font. Going back to this wallpaper, and by the way, you can get this wallpaper at evolve8.com. I have it here already. If you go to the evolve8.com and then after the main address you type in i-typography, it takes you to this page, and if you click on the image, right click save as, you can save it to your desktop and set it as a wallpaper. If you're going to use this in a blog post, I'd credit the site. So yeah, going back to this image, I'm going to start with the lines you see going throughout the wallpaper here. These are basically define the boundaries of typography. So the very first thing is the baseline. It's the most important thing. This is basically where everything sits. So all text will sit on the baseline, and between the baseline and the X height is where the majority of stuff happens. Or the lowercase letters kind of usually sit within it. It's also where the majority of like any kind of uppercase font will be. Any lowercase font that goes above that comes into this space here above, and as you can see, that's an ascender. And this H has an ascender here because it goes beyond the X height, and it goes into this space between the X height and the cap height, or the accent line. And as you can see, the cap height here is the height where the capital of that particular font will go to. So as you can see, the I and the T here reach the cap height. The ascender of this lowercase letter goes beyond it, but again, that's just the start of the font. The ascender doesn't always have to go above, it can be anywhere in this space. What you've also got here is a descent line. So here you have this line. It's not labeled, but it goes all the way across still. And as a result, anything that falls between the baseline and the descent line is called a descender. And as you can see here, the Y, the P, the G, the P, the Y all have descenders. Now, there are different types of descenders, as you can see. I mean, this Y here has a tail on the end. This is the case with particular letters like Q, J, P, and Y. They tend to have tails even in their capital format. You'll find that the kind of the tail is a stylistic part of the font. You've got the terminal here, which is the when a font is a serif but it doesn't end in the style of a serif. This is called the terminal. Distinction between the terminal and serif ending is that, so you see serif ending is quite strong and bold, whereas the terminal is quite soft. Next part here is the ear. The ear is basically this part of the G that's just basically hanging off. Again, this is just a name given to it. Some fonts have it and some fonts don't. Next up, you've got the bowl. Now the bowl is the part of the stroke of the font which surrounds the counter. You're probably wondering what the counter is. Well, the counter is the dead space inside here. So the O has a counter there, the P, this is the counter. In the G, that's the counter, and the A, that's the counter. And the bowl is what's given to this part of the stroke. So the P here has a bowl, so does the O. The A here has another bowl, and the P here has another bowl there. I'm going to skip out kerning in a second because I'm going to explain it up here. We've already had a description of what serif is. Next thing is the stem. The stem is basically the vertical, the diagonal part of the font. This particular part, it's I, so this is the stem. In Y, you can say that this or that part is the stem. P, it's that part. The R, it's that part. P, it's that part, and so on and so forth. And the H, it goes all the way up, nearly almost to the cap height. So moving on to the very last thing, tracking and kerning. Now these two are often confused. Now kerning refers to the space between two individual letters. So kerning, for example, in this case, it's talking about the space between N and I. So if I was to fiddle around with the kerning of this, I would only be playing around with the space in between these two letters, or in this bigger example, only between the P and the O. Whereas tracking, on the other hand, refers to the whole group of letters. So if I was playing around with the spacing between all the letters in a word, all the letters in text, I'll be playing around with the tracking, and this is tweaked to make things easier to read, or alongside things like line height and so on and so forth. So that's a very basic, quick summary. There's more out there. Google it, search it, and there's more video tutorials on YouTube and so on and so forth. But that's a very basic introduction. Thank you for watching.